In the anime scene, whenever a manga makes enough noise and gets enough fans, it usually garners lots of attention online. If it's lucky, it can even have an anime adaptation. For examples of this cycle, look to things like Uzaki-chan or Nagatoro. These properties have garnered lots of attention, and that attention is repaid with YouTube videos and sometimes more adaptations. Still, there exists one manga that seems to live in a state of both extremely popular, yet simultaneously unnoticed in the anime community. That manga is none other than Komi-san Can't Communicate. For those who may not recognize the name, surely the character of Komi-san will be somewhat familiar to you. After all, she is the star of many memes in the anime community, and seems to have mass appeal to anime fans, even if they are unfamiliar with her source material. While she may be the star of many memes and one-off Reddit posts, her series has seemingly flown under the radar for lots of the anime community. There are almost no YouTube videos seriously discussing the series, and with no anime in sight for the manga, it looks like things will continue to stay that way for some time. So with this video, I aim to change that, because the manga is quite good and deserves more attention than it's getting. As a quick disclaimer, I'd like to point out that as of writing this video, I've only read up to halfway through Volume 7, so for the purposes of this discussion, anything that comes after that will not be included. Komi-san Can't Communicate is a series that has been memed to hell and back. From Reddit to Twitter to Instagram, if you follow any anime meme-focused accounts, it's likely you've seen some of these. One such meme that gets passed around quite frequently is that the story is too light or the plot has nothing that happens in it. I find this statement to be generally a bit off base, as this particular manga isn't cut from the same cloth as the types of stories most casual anime fans are used to consuming. This manga is dedicated to displaying characters and their day-to-day lives, and that absolutely can seem dull to someone who's coming straight from Naruto or Dragon Ball. Still, I can assure you that the quality of storytelling is no step down. For a more expanded look at why slice of life stories are worthwhile, please check out the dedicated video I made last week on the subject. If you have any questions or qualms about slice of life, or wonder what the genre is all about, it's all covered there in less than 10 minutes. Anyways, Komi-san's relaxing storytelling is imperative to providing an accessible way for many different kinds of people to interact with a narrative that, at its core, is about mental health. Writing for Anime News Network, in her review of the manga, Rebecca Silverman said, quote, "This is a nice little story with humor and a distinct lack of cruelty that doesn't break any new barriers." But I actually disagree with the last bit of this quote. I would put forth that Komi-san does, in fact, break new barriers on the basis that it is the first widely recognized story that covers mental health in a light-hearted and normalized manner. Now, don't mischaracterize that as me saying there are no other anime or manga series about mental health, because what I mean by that is that this is the first popular manga to display mental health in a normalized manner with no heavy emotional story beats or painful character arcs. Of course, stories with heavy emotional tones and depressing atmospheres can be great, and they offer a certain type of catharsis of their own, don't get me wrong, but it seems that when it comes to tackling mental health in anime, only one thematic tone is ever really used. To see a series flip that on its head and present a fun, light story in an easy and enjoyable package is exceptionally refreshing. The gentle, mostly calm nature of the story showcases mental health safely and understandably. For those unfamiliar with what it's like to live with a communication disorder or anxiety challenges, this story is an excellent introduction that doesn't dehumanize or stigmatize those affected. For the reader who has struggled with similar challenges or mental health in general, this story can feel like a bastion of hope that it is absolutely possible to live a happy, healthy life even if you have difficulty speaking, making connections, or other relevant conditions. Komi-san's cast of characters features a bunch of unique and interesting people that all struggle with some sort of quirk or legitimate condition, and no two characters are truly the same. So this makes for a diverse and inclusive cast that features representation from many groups that have yet to appear in other shows. Lots of characters have struggles not usually seen in their archetype, and some characters even serve to break stereotypes about their gender or condition. Katai Makoto is an excellent example of this, as he comes off as the typical anime tough guy, but in reality, he has just as much trouble communicating as Komi does. It's pretty sweet to see Tadano understand him and watch their bond develop, because it's something typically not seen by other similar characters. However, all of this is not to say that Komi-san makes no mistakes with its characters. In fact, one of its main characters, Najimi, is actually quite poorly handled. In the manga, Najimi is characterized as a gender-fluid person that usually presents feminine, but this is sometimes played for more of a quick joke rather than a serious expression of gender. This is pretty strange coming from such a progressive series, and it makes for a massive dissonance when the jokes don't land. Compared to the exceptionally positive outlook on mental health, the use of a trans character for the butt of "what gender is it" and "not a real girl" jokes is pretty annoying. Thankfully, later in the manga, when Tadano cross-dresses in a maid uniform, it's handled with more tact, and there aren't many transphobic jokes to speak of here. But it is essential to remember that Tadano isn't a trans character, so they don't have as many opportunities to poke fun at his status. Overall, Najimi's characterization as a gender fluid or trans character isn't bad, and in lots of scenes it can be very good. It's just that some of the jokes and jabs that surround them and their gender identity are very problematic. That said, I don't believe these jokes come from a place of malice, but rather ignorance. There is certainly nothing too bad here, and most of it is pretty lighthearted and doesn't make the manga not worth reading, but it's all worth a mention. Aside from some of the transphobic jokes surrounding Najimi, Komi-san's a really fun manga that never takes itself too seriously. Most story arcs revolve around grounded circumstances that will be relatable to most people. The large amount of characters allows for the setting and plot to be explored from many different angles, so that the story never really feels dull or lacking in substance. On top of all this, the comedy doesn't seem to come from a malicious place towards its characters, but rather a sympathetic one. I found myself frequently laughing out loud at relatable situations and circumstances I saw that reflected my own experience. And for a manga that covers such a sensitive topic, that kind of relatability is key. Komi-san Can't Communicate is one of my favorite slice of life mangas, and it's even responsible for getting me to pick up a manga instead of just waiting for an anime adaptation like I usually do. I strongly encourage that those interested check it out, even if it's just so that you can understand the memes better. If you do, I guarantee that you'll find something more than just memes and a pretty girl. And if you're someone who's ever struggled with anxiety or communication, then this manga is literally made for you. The humor is kind-hearted and relatable, and the circumstances don't ever leave the realm of possibility for a manga grounded in reality. That said, of course, it is still a manga, so things can get a bit silly, but that's to be expected with a comedy slice of life series. With all that out of the way, all I can say is thanks for making it this far into the video. If you liked my thoughts or found me entertaining, feel free to leave a like or even subscribe. It helps me way more than you probably think. And with that, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.